Okie dokie, so
Okay, so
what I'd like to do is ask about karma yoga and how everybody that's working can put it into practice in their daily jobs.
So the karma side of things everybody's doing. So everybody's working. And there are various motivations for doing it. Nobody works for nothing. The difficulty with working for any motivation, no matter how noble it might be, is from a psychological point of view, it still gives a disturbance to the mind. And what we know by yoga is equilibrium of mind. So the Bhagavad Gita tells us that yoga is two things: equilibrium of mind, steadiness of mind, and skill in action, efficiency. That means you have to take stock of all your talents and abilities and see if you can steer them in a way that will give the mind a sense of equilibrium. And the only way we know to get equilibrium is to serve other people, to include other people in it, make other people a beneficiary of our activity. So it's non-egoistic or egocentric action. That means in a practical way, every action, and thought for our purpose is also an action, has to be steered for the sake of worship or yajna. So the Bhagavad Gita tells us that all actions are binding, or all actions are binding except those for the sake of yajna. Now, yajna is quite a technical term. So yajna means worship, and it's not just the external part of the worship, because greater than all of that is things done with intention, and greater than intention is meditation, and greater than that is offering the fruits of your activity, surrendering the fruits of your action. So there are a number of ways of doing this, from a very basic way to a more intensive way. We can do it in two broad ways, that is with worshipful intention and with mindfulness, and both have to be a combination at the end of the day. But worshipful means we're surrendering all actions to God, doing all actions for His sake as a kind of worship, like a flower offering or any other thing that we do in puja, a kind of sacramental activity. When you see what the actual actions in puja and the actions in our daily life, they're very similar. So when you switch a light on, a light is being created, a lamp is being created. You do puja, instead of making an electrical light, you're lighting a lamp, striking a match, lighting a wick. So both actions are actions, no doubt, to get light. The one is done with a worshipful attitude, and the other one might be done casually. I often use the example of the Japanese tea ceremony, how carefully it's done. It's a ritual. But you and I and others might just throw a few tea bags in a pot, carelessly put some water in and serve it as we please. Get the chore out of the way. If we just slow that activity down and make it much more mindful, be aware of it, of all the actions that take place. We can do it in two ways, as I say, either as a worshipful God, or with an understanding that all activities are not done by us anyway. There's so many avenues of expression, just as there's one electrical current displayed and distributed through so many light bulb outlets. So in that same way, we could have a view of life that says, all heads are His, all arms are His, all legs are His, millions and billions of them. Have that view. It's taken from the Rig Veda, the Purusha Suktam. Like the cosmos is a human body. And wherever you look, including this, all means including this. So all actions are there taking place. And I'm just a witness of that. So that all actions done in that spirit would be a harmonizing kind of activity or karma, called karma yoga. And that includes all thought, of course. All thought is viewed as a movement. It's a subjective movement, but it's a movement nonetheless. Every cell has to pulse and move. And every cell itself according to the biology, has a motive to survive. They may not put it like that. They may put it as a curious an inexplicable impulse, a natural selection, just an impulse to survive. But that won't be a very adequate or deep enough answer. There must be some reason why an atom wants to survive as an atom and proliferate. There must be a reason why a cell wants to, after whatever it is, so many billions of years, wants to cooperate and coordinate and cluster with other cells, eventually making a total cellular organism such as a human body. Is a much more economic and cooperative thing to do. So why is all that activity taking place in the entire universe? And so it's to gain freedom. Freedom is the goal. Freedom is the goal for nature, and freedom is our goal too. So with the goal in mind, why we should do things in this way, bearing in mind that we achieve the goal as it were. I say as it were because achievement itself becomes fraught with anxiety. As soon as we want a result, then it becomes an anxious thing, because I want is quickly followed by a bracketed I haven't got. I want, I haven't got. From a results point of view, it's a no. So I want, positive. I haven't got, negative. +1, -1, all cancels out. So we have to do an activity in such a way that we put ourselves in a poised present moment condition, where we happily, delightfully, joyfully operate and beam from there. Either seeing this current of God's grace flowing through all these organisms, hands, eyes, ears, etc., limbs, or by taking the position of a devotee and taking the unit activity and specifically taking it as a flower offering. Now, many activities are such that we can't dedicate our full concentration to abhyasa yoga, that is, constant thinking and practice, remembrance of God. But at least prior to an activity, we can dedicate it to God, say a prayer, and after the activity we could do the same. So before and after is a good starting point, practical starting point. Okay. And dedicating the whole day's activities at the beginning of the day, reviewing it afterwards. See, Holy Mother Sharda had recommended in the evening for Sandhya, make it a practice that you review how did my day go well, and all the good things you offer, the things that didn't go so well, you resolve. I'll do better tomorrow. Okay. So we could do that. And that can lead us maybe to a sense of remembrance, constant remembrance. Some religions have a system whereby your day can be punctuated by remembrance of God anyway. Now if you take then cleaning activities, you can see cleaning activities in two different spheres. One cleaning activity you can see in the temple. So temple worship in some way, to some extent, in most temples, part of the worship is the actual cleaning. You take the floor, you clean it. You clean it mindfully, knowing this is God's sitting room. Doing it with God in mind, Lord, this is a service to you. In terms of actions, there's absolutely no difference between that and cleaning your kitchen floor. It's only in the evaluation of it. In the one place, Lord, this is your sitting room. In the other place, this is a chore, I don't like it, I wish it was over, and creating anxiety in the mind, which binds you. Okay. Is it possible to have the same attitude, cleaning the kitchen floor as it is, cleaning the temple floor? Absolutely. Why don't you take this kitchen also as God's sitting room? Why don't you take His energy, it's His energy being used, not mine. Why don't you take on a spirit of thankfulness for it? Lord, thank you for allowing me to express this. I dedicate it back to you since it's yours anyway. So being mindful of everything in this way, with a sense of internal delight, no stress in it, but a sense of happiness. So doing that, either as a service to God, or doing it with the mindfulness, Lord, you're doing everything anyway. What a glory. Or you can make a combination of both. It means that there are certain karma yogis that don't really require a theistic attitude, such as Buddhists, Jains and so on, where there's no God as such, the devotional aspect isn't there. They can still do every activity thoroughly mindfully, putting their full attention in the unit activity and being detached from it. It's the detachment that makes karma yoga, detached attitude. Doing no work is not even karma. Karma yoga is doing the work with a certain attitude that is freeing, not binding.
Okay.
And since most people are engaged in activity, karma yoga, everybody has to do. What's the difference between turning on a computer and opening up the shrine room? What's the difference between turning a light on and lighting a candle? What's the difference between eating and offering food in the temple? So both are activities, and if we can value both in the same way, this is karma yoga.
Excellent. Okay.
Now we have some further thoughts. They say on cooking programs, this is one I prepared earlier. The whole gist of this teaching, what teaching? Karma yoga, and this is a whole passage called The Secret of Work. The whole gist of this teaching is that you should work as a master, not as a slave. Work incessantly, but do not do slave's work. So every activity that you do under the tyranny of anxiety, or the tyranny of doubt, or the tyranny of disinterest from the point of view of not applying yourself properly, not even orientating the mind in a specific way. So all of this creates a slavery in your mind, and the whole idea of yoga of any type is to create control and mastery. Do you not see how everybody works? Nobody can be altogether at rest, says Vivekananda. 99% of mankind work like slaves. And the result is misery, is all selfish work. Work through freedom, work through love, he says. Then he picks up on the word love, because we have the same word in English. I love you, I love chocolate. You see, it's different in different languages, but in English, unfortunately, love is an interesting word. Love never comes until there is freedom, he says. When we have a sense of freedom, then we truly have love. Why? Because elsewhere he describes love as having a triangulation. That love has these characteristics, no fear, no reward, and no rival. That's another way of saying freedom. Love never comes until there is freedom. There is no true love possible in the slave. If you buy a slave and tie him down in chains and make him work for you, he will work like a drudge, but there will be no love in him. Why do people get tired at the end of the day? Is because if they're a golfer, they're working, and as they're working, they'd rather be playing golf. And golf is more physically tiring than the working. So I'm not happy in doing what I'm doing. I want to get it over with so that I can go and enjoy myself. Then you go home tired. Why? Because of all that friction that occurred inside you, unhappily working. So when we ourselves work as slaves for the things of the world, there can be no love in us, and our work is not real work. This is true of work done for relatives and friends, and it is true of work done for our own selves. Selfish work is slave's work. The characteristic of karma yoga is there's no egocentricity in it. There's no self-centeredness. There's no motive for myself in it. It's all working for others. And here is the test. Every act of love brings happiness. There is no act of love which does not bring peace and blessedness as its reaction. Real existence, real knowledge, and real love are eternally connected with one another. three in one. Where one of them is, the others also must be. They are the three aspects of the one without a second. Existence, knowledge, bliss, Satchit, Ananda. When that existence becomes relative, we see it as the world. That knowledge becomes, in its turn, modified into the knowledge of the things of the world. And that bliss forms the foundation of all the love known to the heart of man. We start off with a basis, substantial basis, which is described as existence, knowledge or consciousness, and love or bliss. Now, if we want the evidence of it, when you put time, space, and all the rest of it on top of it, you'd expect to find the signatures here, and we do. We have a will to live. We don't like not to live. We think that we exist. It's the one thing that we assert with great assurance, I exist. And then when we have this consciousness, it doesn't arise from nowhere. It can't be an epiphenomenon of the brain. The brain is just a series of cells that remain cells, dead as they are when the body dies. It's a machine with no life in it. So it makes much more sense to say that what we find as intelligence coming out, as systematic urges and drives toward freedom, and ultimately in man as consciousness coming out, was there already in the beginning, just expressed through the media of time and space and function. Same thing with bliss. Why do people have a sense of humor? Why do people play jokes on each other? Why do people like to laugh? Why does love somehow, stimulate endorphins and serotonin and all the rest of it? And we enjoy that because our nature is that. So when that existence becomes relative, we see it as the world, and so on. Therefore, true love can never react so as to cause pain either to the lover or to the beloved. Suppose a man loves another person, a woman, he wishes to have her all to himself and feels extremely jealous about her every movement. He wants her to sit near him, to stand near him, and to eat and move at his bidding. He is a slave to her and wishes to have her as his slave. That is not love. It's a kind of morbid affection of the slave insinuating itself as love. Also a kind of bargaining process, we might say. I love you if you love me. You don't love me, then I don't love you. It cannot be love because it's painful. So if she does not do what he wants, it brings him pain. With love, there is no painful reaction. Love brings only a reaction of bliss. If it does not, it is not a love. It's mistaking of something else for love. And when you have succeeded in loving your husband, your wife, your children, the world, the whole universe, in such a manner that there is no reaction of pain or jealousy, no selfish feeling, then you are in a fit state to be unattached. So Krishna says, look at me, Arjun. If I stop working for one moment, the whole universe will die. I have nothing to gain from work. I am the sole Lord. But why do I do work? Because I love the world. God is unattached because he loves. And that's the reason why Karma Yoga involves non-attachment. Non-attachment being synonymous with love. I love when I'm not attached. If I'm attached, it's a form of slavery. Every action, therefore, becomes binding, if not done with that feeling attitude.
Okay.
So that's the idea. Now, if bliss is our nature, and we see it periodically in the world, and we get an elevation of spirit when we see something that delights the heart, symptomatic of our own nature being blissful, perpetual bliss then becomes our natural condition. I'm going to another previous question.
Yes. Okay.
Becomes a natural condition. Although we can't visualize it because we evaluate joy as being associated with the particular objective world.
Sure.
But that's just slavery. It's not real joy. There's a few bright moments on the horizon of a dark mass of things that we're struggling to get out of. If you ask what is happiness, the better definition is to say, for most people. It's the absence of discomfort. Are you happy? Yes. Why? Because I have a good home and means I'm not out on the street. I have good health because, in contrast to it, I've experienced bad health. So happiness now becomes almost a negative definition of, it's because I don't have financial worries, I don't have ill health. But that doesn't last long.
Sure.
So even the people who do have the sense of security because they have financial security don't necessarily have domestic security. They don't necessarily have all the things they want, as judged by all the difficulties, the divorces and unhappiness that people have who are essentially wealthy. Because if you don't learn that if you look into the past, you'll get doubt and fear. If you look into the future, you'll get anxiety and fear there also. But this present moment, if you catch it now, what you'll find is a kind of blissful, poised condition. Something akin to contentment. Something akin to equilibrium. And this is what the Bhagavad Gita is talking about. Krishna is saying, yoga is the sense of steadiness, the sense of equilibrium. And but you don't get it by sitting down and doing nothing. You get it by applying your particular skills and talents, expressing it in a delightful way, and in a freeing way also. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll probably leave it at that.
Sure.